Welcome into Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. Today, we are talking about contracts. Money, 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 money. Some people got to have it, right? Well, that might just be the case for Geno Smith and Drew Lock. We'll explain all of that coming up in just a few moments from right now. Before we do that, though, I'm very curious, folks. Tell me, who is your favorite Seattle Seahawks player this season? We'll put the loss behind that happened against the Bucs yesterday. Bye week, just look ahead, stay positive, look forward from here. Tell me, so far this year, who's been your favorite player in 2022? Let me know in the comments section below. We begin today talking about Geno Smith, the Seahawks starting quarterback who has had a very impressive 2022 so far. And yesterday morning, in the wee hours, if you were up at 2:22 a.m. Pacific time, then you would have seen a tweet from Ian Rapoport. This was several hours before the game started there in Germany between the Seahawks and the Bucs. And what Rap Sheet reported, NFL Network Insider, was that the Seahawks want quarterback Geno Smith back for 2023, with contract talks expected to take place after the season. And Rap Sheet did a whole article on this, which I encourage you to go look at on NFL.com, and really did a good job of explaining the situation. We've talked about for several weeks that we thought that Geno Smith had earned the right to get a contract extension, and the Seahawks seem to believe the same thing. Here's the rundown on Geno Smith. Joined the Seahawks in 2019, and he's currently on a one-year, $3.5 million contract. And his stats for this year have been off the charts, with a near 73% completion percentage, 2,400 yards passing, 17 touchdowns and 4 picks, and that's just the passing touchdowns. He's also rushed on the ground for some touchdowns there as well. And so we'll kind of give you some contract projections for Geno Smith here in just a second and dive more into this of what could be the long-term deal of what that looks like as the Seahawks are preparing to keep Geno Smith for the foreseeable future. Before we get into that, though, I want to know, are you all in on Geno Smith? Have you seen enough? Are you where the Seahawks are at, where you're completely sold on Geno? If you are, type Y for yes. If not, which I don't know why you wouldn't be at this point, what more do you need to see from Geno right now? If you aren't, type in for no. Let me know in the comment section below if you were all in on Geno Smith for the foreseeable future. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Let me know in the comments section. Type Y for yes, type in for no if you are all in on Geno Smith. Now, Geno's going to get a significant payday. It's going to be a lot more money than what he's making right now of that $3.5 million. But looking at some of the contract projections out there, everything looks reasonable. And I have two different projections I want to look at. The Sporting News did a really good job of breaking this down of how much money Geno Smith is potentially worth. There was two options. One of them is similar to Jameis Winston's current deal with the New Orleans Saints. That's what you're seeing on screen here. This is option number one. It would be a 2-year deal with a total value of about $28 million, which would average out to $14 million per year, with 21 of that guaranteed. So that's about 75% of that money he would be guaranteed to have in his pocket no matter what, 21 of the 28 on a 2-year deal. So that seems to be a little bit lower on the lower end for a 2-year deal. But what we could see, if you're looking at for more money on the 3-year side, basically, here's option number two. The big difference, besides just adding the additional year, it's a less than 25% drop in the guaranteed money. So although the average year goes up in the second option, the guaranteed percentage goes down quite a bit to, as you can see, the average year, $21 million over a $63 million 3-year deal, 33 of that guaranteed, but just a little over 52% of that guaranteed. So of these two options, whether it be a 2-year or a 3-year deal, I think either way, Geno Smith is going to be in the ballpark as of right now between $15 and $20 million per year. And that's a great day for Geno Smith. That's a significant amount of money more than what he's making right now. And it doesn't change things for the Seahawks. Remember, part of the reason why the Seahawks moved on from Russell Wilson and made that trade was that they felt that they could save money at the quarterback position and spend it better elsewhere. And with this type of money, although it's a nice pay bump for Geno, it doesn't change the plan that's in place from John Schneider and from Pete Carroll to not spend as much at the quarterback position and use that money elsewhere. It's kind of a win-win for all parties involved here. So looking at those two contract options of whether it's a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal, how long do you think the Seahawks should sign Geno Smith for? If you think it's 2 years, type 2 for 2 years. If you think it's 3 years, type 3 for 3 years. Heck, if you think it should be more than that, if you're in the ballpark of 4 or 5 years, I don't care. Just go ahead and put a number down of how long you think the Seahawks should sign Geno Smith for. Today's show is sponsored by Established Titles. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. Title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and on an official certificate with a crest. We plant a tree with every order and work with global charities, One Tree Planted, and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. You could officially include the title Lord or Lady on your credit card, plane tickets, dating profiles, and more. It makes for a great last-minute gift. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot within a few minutes of walking distance. Depending on how many of you want to become a lord or lady, we can build our own Seahawks Today kingdom together. Established Titles is actually running a massive early Black Friday sale right now with discounts up to 80% off. Plus, if you use the code CHAT, you get an additional 10% off as well. Go to establishedtitles.com/chat to get your gifts now and help support the channel here at Seahawks Today. That's establishedtitles.com/chat. You get the 80% off and then an extra 10% off as well. Great deal. Get yours now. Establishedtitles.com/chat. So the other part of the bombshell report from Ian Rapoport that kind of got swept under the rug, forgotten about, was Drew Lock was factored into all of this. And according to what Rapsheet put out there, not only do the Seahawks want to keep Geno Smith, but they would also like to keep Drew Lock as well. Here's what Rapsheet had to say in that article. The Seahawks want both QBs back, Smith and backup Drew Lock. They have yet to make an offer to Smith, who's set to be a free agent in 2023, to extend his contract, and those talks will happen after this season. Lock and Smith get along in the QB room, creating a fun atmosphere in what could otherwise have been an awkward situation. More from Rapsheet. The whole atmosphere in general is fun. In the viral video this week of Seattle's impromptu dance party at practice in Munich showed it. Internally, everyone also knows this. One of Coach Pete Carroll's best qualities is to instill confidence in players and have that lead to performance. That seems to have taken place here. More on Drew Lock and what that means of potentially bringing him back to Seattle next year in just one moment. Before we get to that, though, this week we reached another milestone here on Seahawks Today as we have now surpassed 31,000 subscribers on the channel. That's the fastest ever that we've added 1,000 subscribers here on Seahawks Today. So the 12s, you guys did it again. You continue to impress me. It is a privilege to do this show each and every day, to be talking about your Seattle Seahawks. We had a great time on the watch party on Sunday. We're doing our live shows on Wednesdays as well with daily news and rumors segments. Seahawks Today is the place to be. Subscribe now, youtube.com/SeahawksTV, and you'll be glad you did. So more on Drew Lock. Let's dive into this now. He was traded to the Seahawks this offseason from the Denver Broncos, a part of the Russell Wilson trade. And the last year of the rookie deal is what he's on right now, is worth about $4 or $5 million. And his career stats, although we have not seen him so far in 2022, the numbers throughout his career at this point, less than 60% completion percentage, over 4,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 20 picks. And the difference between bringing Drew Lock back next year as opposed to the circumstance that he was in now, when you traded for Drew Lock this past offseason, Lock was in a quarterback competition, right? He was competing with Geno Smith for that quarterback job. Ultimately, at the end of the preseason, the very night that the preseason ended, Pete Carroll announced that Geno Smith had won the starting quarterback competition and became the starter going forward. If you were to bring back Drew Lock next year, the circumstances are a bit different for Drew Lock. Geno Smith has earned the right to be the starting quarterback next year no matter what. I mean, even if you found the greatest quarterback ever in the draft next year, if there was someone you were sold on, Geno Smith would still be your quarterback to start day one at this point in time right now. And so the case for Drew Lock, he could be a solid career backup. There's no reason why Drew Lock can't be Chase Daniel by any means. I think that he could be just like what Chase is, potentially. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a knock on him at all. And you look at the Seahawks depth chart, you see where things are at. Geno Smith there, Drew Lock, and then on the practice squad, you have Sean Mannion holding things down as basically your de facto number 3 quarterback. The Seahawks don't have an obvious answer of a guy for the future, so it might as well be Drew Lock to be your number 2 quarterback. And if there's good chemistry, if there's good trust, if they believe that Lock knows the system and can step in if something were to happen for Geno Smith, then yeah, it makes sense to not only just bring back Geno Smith, but also Drew Lock as well. So I'm for that. I don't know if Drew Lock's going to be for that, if he is willing to accept going into next offseason of being the number 2 quarterback no matter what. But time will tell, and we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So before we go, should the Seahawks bring Drew Lock back to be the backup next year? What say you? Let me know in the comments section. Type S for sign, type P for pass. Which way you lean if Seattle should bring back Drew Lock. S for sign, P for pass. As always, you can follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Tyler Jones Live, talking about your Seattle Seahawks on those social media platforms. And I will see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.